Right then, hello and welcome back to the podcast, Sparks Conversation. I am joined today again, as per usual, by the man himself, the co-host, the co-coach, Rowan Smith. He is here. We are, what day is it today? Well, in podcast land, it doesn't really matter because it goes out whenever it goes out. So we're recording in advance. So hopefully this makes sense. But today we're going to be talking about goal setting. The fluffy world that is goal setting, and how everyone can feel suddenly woke because they've set a goal. But yeah, more on that later on. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Getting back into the routine of things after being away for a few days last week. And as nice as it was to see your pretty face, it's much nicer to eat normally, sleep normally, and enjoy my own gym.
Exactly, yeah. And not have to go to questionable gyms. I mean, it wasn't all bad. The gym was okay. It had a deadlift bar. That was about the only good thing.
True.
But yeah, if you haven't been on a deadlift bar, like, it is super fun. I'm not one for roller coasters, but that's the closest I could get to a roller coaster in the gym, the way they just whip you up. So I did enjoy that. But yeah, we're going to talk about goals. So, I mean, goals, I don't know. Where do you even start with goals? Like, they are essential. However, I think we live in a goal setting matrix where, like, if something you do isn't in a goal, it doesn't count. And if you don't post on your Instagram story that you've written your goals out for the year or the week, you're not going to achieve anything. So as you can probably hear, I'm in a bit of a cynical mood, but hopefully there will be some actual decent advice from this. So, do we use our goals with our clients? And I think the easiest answer to that is yes. I don't know anyone who wouldn't use them with their clients. But I think the messaging around those goals can be different, and the way that you've got to be thinking, what are those goals actually serving? If it's just a goal for a goal's sake, like I said, like it's just like a waste of typing or writing if you're actually writing. I don't know who writes nowadays, but yeah. So what do you think on the matter, mate? Like, do you set goals for yourself?
Yes, apologies again for the Wi-Fi. Student life.
Yeah, get that in early, because
I think that was a goals are. Yeah, like that's. Oh Christ! Goals are there to definitely get direction for what it is that you want to kind of achieve and work towards. Because realistically, without having at least some idea of what you're doing, you'll notoriously just end up spinning your wheels and not really achieving anything. And it's much easier to flip-flop from idea to idea if you don't have at least one specific thing that you may be slowly working towards.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think you'd agree that goals are essential to working with clients, because it does provide that kind of focal point and that spearhead as for what they are trying to achieve. So every client will sign up with you or us with a goal in mind, whether that's to grow more muscle, lose fat. And that is important because that's in essence why they are here. But sometimes it can be just left at that, or it can be used as like a motivator and something that drives the phases that would follow the goal setting process. So I think another thing that we need to think about is, like, the problem with goals is they're very end focused. They're very much a lot of the time, unless you're kind of well versed in how to write goals or have read around the topic, it's very much like a goal, or, well, it is a goal, an end orientated thing. Like, I will be this, I will do that. But one thing that does, and it does in abundance, is completely neglects the process or the time in between. So that's then setting you up to be, right, I am not happy until I hit this goal. So that goal could be 1-2 years in the making. And because you're not at that goal, you're perceiving the period in between as not good, or you're not happy, or you're not succeeding, when realistically you could be succeeding. Well, you will be succeeding, but you could be making tons of progress that you will not objectively see, because you'll be very kind of eyes on the prize in a sense. Like, I just want this thing. So for example, if like, let's take fat loss, for example, if it's to be in decent shape, like, and you're a very busy person, like, it might take longer than you think to get lean. If you don't have the kind of bandwidth to be able to do things as on it as they can be, it will take longer. And if you are just focused on, right, I'm still not lean as I need to be, is this as my goal wants me to be, you're going to be unhappy during the process. And I think it's a lot of the reason why some people kind of drop out of the fitness space, because they don't fall in love with the process. They are too goal orientated. And once you've got lean, what do you do? Like, do you set up? Lots of people don't necessarily want to then go on a massive off season like us bodybuilders. They just kind of want to be lean. Right, I am lean now. What do I do? Oh, I'm just going to not do anything. So I know you're quite into your process and goal orientated things. So have you got much to say on that?
Yeah, so at least I think as well, being more focused on kind of process goals at least gives you a little bit more reward from what you're working towards. You can actually, I think with being very focused on that endpoint specifically, you may not always get there. And if you don't, you'll then most likely get disheartened that you've not achieved whatever you set out to. However, all the things you've done along the way, all of those different processes and little tasks that you've ticked off, if you look back at it, you've actually achieved a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for. So I think that's very key on, yes, set what your main target is, but also acknowledge the, I don't want to say process again, but acknowledge the progression that you're making along the way whilst getting to that endpoint.
100%. And then, like, I'll argue that you'll always probably reach the goal quicker in a more effortless manner, because you'll be enjoying the everydays, potentially the monotonous things that might ordinarily be perceived as kind of boring and not actually the fun stuff like being shredded. But if you start to enjoy I don't know, like enjoy the calorie deficit, it's hard, but like if you enjoy kind of your new view on nutrition, how you're optimizing your day, I think it can kind of really tie into a better outcome in the long run. And the thing with goals, I think you definitely need to have kind of tangible success criteria along the way. So from education, like I've kind of transferred this across from education from when I was teaching, it is that kind of there was a large body of research that studied that a lot of education was asking children to achieve these things, but it wasn't telling them how to do it, what success looked like. And therefore the children, I know this is on children, but it does transfer to adults, I'm afraid. The children kind of, you're just making up as you go along, because you don't actually know what success towards that goal is. You're just being asked to succeed. So with all of our clients, we work through like a success criteria. So all of our training blocks will be split up into phases, and each phase will have tangible outcomes or tangible success criteria that we will kind of work through with the client. That is a metric that we can use to assess or somewhat assess success of that phase towards the goal. So for example, if it was a gaining muscle phase or a push-up phase, potentially, you might be looking at measurements, body part measurements, you might be looking at scale weight, you might be looking at performance metrics, and setting those down so that we can almost tick them off as we go along. So it's not kind of like, right, we're just bulking now, bulk. Do you know what I mean? Because that very soon becomes a matter of kind of perseverance. Like, not everyone just has the kind of discipline and drive to just bulk without ticking things off along the way, because growing muscle as a natural lad or girl is a slow process. So having things that you tick off along the way that tie into that process orientated structure that we kind of talk about really will funnel you, and again tie into you actually loving the process, which is something that, like we keep speaking about, is something that kind of does need to happen. Otherwise you'll just kind of drift along hating every moment of it. But success criteria is a big one. I think would help a lot of people, because I, for one, have kind of been stuck in kind of periods where you're just doing for forever. Like if you're, because if you're trying to grow muscle naturally, like you're talking years. So like it's a long old period. Yeah. So
but expanding on the point you made earlier about when you decide to try and gain muscle without having a little bit more focus on those process goals, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to increase my body weight. I know of a lot of people, I get myself as well in the past, that I then just began eating everything that was in sight. And you almost believe that just because scale weight is going up. Oh,
you're still there, mate.
Am I still here?
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Good.
Just quality. Because scale weight's going up, blame Samsung. Just because scale weight's going up, it doesn't then automatically mean you've built a load of muscle. If you've gained 8 kilos in a month, you've not gained 6 kilos of muscle. Like, and you need to then,
yeah, like you said, it does keep you in check, especially in those kind of push-up phases, because tangible means that they're actually realistic. It's not just a fucking, I just swore, I'll probably get censored for that. It's not just like, right, we're gaining muscle now, so just go for it, like eat until you're 140 kilograms. No. It's like, it's their thought out tangible outcomes, because they're realistic to you. They're not like, yeah, like you said, gain 8 kilograms this month. It's like, right, try and gain maybe 1 to 2 kilograms max, whilst performance increasing, improvements to how you look and stuff like that. And I think it's really useful. And ever since like implementing them with myself, they've really kind of kept me on track. Like I had quite a few during prep. Obviously they were distorted as hell because I was in prep mode, but it was quite interesting to see them like ticked off as we went along. But one thing for me was like that transition. These success criteria really helped me when I was transitioning from prep, or the end of prep, to get this push-up phase. Because for anyone who's prepped, at the end of after show day, you're pretty much, it feels like you've got a void in your life. That might sound a bit deep, but like you've been working for the past 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months for this one day. This one day's gone. What now? And you very quickly got to like scramble together to try and catch your thought process and your mindset, because you're probably in a compromised position. So you'll need to very quickly get those systems in place. And that's where I think like goals without systems are literally just like mouth farts. Like they are pretty much pointless, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? Like like it's like new year, new me, like new goals, like January. Like I'm getting quite animated now. I just think it's just falling into this like productivity matrix that we live in as like currently at the moment. Like, we've just got to achieve everything. Like everyone's got to achieve everything. Write goals down in your new goal diary that you've bought that you're never going to look at again once you've written the goals down. It's like a goal without a system is rendered pointless. And I see so many people, a goal won't just happen without a system. And if you're not thinking about it, I'm all for kind of, what's it called, where you kind of think about something and it happens. It's called something, but I can't remember. I'm all for that, okay? I'm all for
positive manifesting.
Yes, that. I'm all for that. But for most people, probably people listening or watching, you need to have systems in place that are going to work you towards that goal, because chances are the goal's something different to what you already have. And if it's different to what you already have, you need to do something different to what you are doing. That is a knowledge bomb. Sparks 20.
Ship it, done. Podcast over.
Coffee has kicked in. I'm flying. Right. Well, I think we have hammered that. And I think what another thing that I want to talk about is, Rowan's heard of the book. I've read the book. It's good. I would recommend it. It's called Atomic Habits. By James Clear. It is James Clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. Very accessible. He writes very well. Genius. Modern day genius. So I know Atomic Habits is about habits, but he does associate and talk a lot about kind of goals within the process. And he prioritizes, when we're setting goals, we should always be thinking about like the goal identity we want to become. And the reason we pick an identity as opposed to something we can, like just a goal, just a thing, just a outcome, if we pick a goal identity, we can then reverse engineer our habits from that. And again, habits is something that like you hear every personal trainer talk about. Healthy habits, man. Don't do extremes, man. Just do healthy habits. Shut up. This is not what I'm talking about now. I'm talking about, once we know that goal identity, we can think about what we associate the habits of that identity are. So for example, let's say someone who wants to lose weight, feel fitter and have more control over their nutrition. We can then reverse engineer their habits from that identity. So for example, one habit they should probably do is do exercise 3 times a week. That's a good habit that will align with that goal identity. And what you can do is gradually kind of build that momentum so that you are transitioning yourself from an identity to this new identity. Because what I was going to call him James, like I know him. What James Clear says is it's much more likely to stick and become a long-term thing, a long-term habit, if you completely change who you are towards that kind of longer-term goal. Which is something I can see that I've gone through myself, like not deliberately, but when I first started training, like I always thought I wanted to be like an athlete, quote unquote. So from very early on, I viewed everything that I did as kind of like an athlete mindset. And that's something I try and instill in all of our clients at the moment. Like I've started calling all of our clients athletes. I check in with them as an athlete. I hope that all of their actions align as an athlete. And of course, there's a spectrum to this. Like some of my general population clients, don't worry. Like I don't expect you to be like Usain Bolt or like a pro bodybuilder. But by getting that athlete mindset, you are starting to take responsibility for your actions towards what you perceive to that athlete to be. And I think that's kind of really powerful. I think mindset shifts around goals is probably a different podcast in itself, but mindset is key if you're actually trying to achieve any of these goals.
But definitely, if you're almost associating yourself with a slightly higher standard, it gives you a much better basis to make those decisions on. If you don't really hold yourself in high regard, if you just don't really care about your health, about your fitness, whatever, it's so much easier to just eat whatever, not go to the gym, not do anything, if we're speaking about fitness. Whereas if you do hold yourself as an athlete, at least someone that cares about their health, not just aesthetics, but just their general health, you will make so many better decisions that align with being that individual. My favorite saying is not eating like an arsehole.
Yeah.
If you want to be fit and healthy, you're not going to eat microwave everything 4 meals a day. Like,
yeah, and I think like this doesn't mean that like athlete mindset is on all the time. Like you don't have to be like me. Like it doesn't have to, for some people, general population clients, it doesn't have to be 100% got this identity all the time. You can have different identities that you flip between. And most of us will have a work identity that we carry out on a day-to-day. I have a kind of coaching mindset and identity that I align with, and I can flip between the two. But these identities do kind of underline everything that you do around certain things. So they then help align your actions and your habits and everything towards that identity, towards that goal, because obviously that's what we're talking about, that we're trying to achieve. And yeah, I think the goal identity is like a big one, and that's again something we work on with our clients just to kind of keep them in check, because a lot of the time most people want to actually transition away from their current identity to something different, and identifying that can be quite big and quite kind of empowering at the start of the process, because it creates a little bit of thinking that people think they sign up with an online coach, they don't want to think, but thinking will have to happen, because remember, we're just there to advise and support. Most of the stuff actually comes from the people who are doing it, because like I said before, and I say a lot, like I would happily like diet for all of you motherfuckers. But, I can't. You gotta do it. You gonna say anything, mate?
I think it's a lot about kind of giving that sense of
carry on, mate. It's still there.
Okay,
just behind.
Christ. I think it's about kind of giving that sense of autonomy and empowerment. Realistically, if you're a coach that hasn't provided enough information that the client could go off and work by themselves and be able to do it themselves, I don't think we've fully provided the service that we should do. Realistically, we're trying to share our own experiences and knowledge so that they can function without us.
Yeah.
It's just, we always will have a little bit more kind of guidance or potentially provide a little bit more structure than if they were off by themselves.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that like Project Spark is like we create the system. Like everyone will have a goal in their head, and once they've plucked up the kind of motivation and courage to make the change, the system will be made for you and around you. You'll be at the heart of it. And I was speaking about it a lot on social media at the moment. Like we're driven by efficiency, a commitment to client success, and our passion for this. And passion runs at the heart of our decision making, and our client success is built around the systems that we make for our clients towards their goals. Okay, not our goals. Like we have our own shit to get on with. We've got our own shit. Everyone's got stuff to get on with. But in terms of kind of client achievement, we are there to create a system and support you and hold you accountable to that system. So I think, how would you approach goal setting in January then, mate?
What was that, sorry, sir?
How would you approach goal setting in January?
Well,
Don't.
I would say no. You get that's where you get your big like spray can and write it all over the wall, so you can just always see it.
Only if it's your house.
Yeah, don't do that to like the gym wall or something.
And not on a rental either. High deposit.
So I think it would go down to setting some goals of different durations. So like a longer term goal, maybe a 12-month goal, shorter duration, 6 months, and then one that's a couple of months. So at least then you've got multiple things that you're working towards, potentially each one assists with the next. But it gives you, rather than saying, okay, in a year's time, which I think is what most people do after the Christmas period, after the New Year's period, where they go to the gym January 1st, I'm going to be fitter this year. It's just too vague, and you're only thinking about something in a year's time. You're not kind of trying to work out what you're doing in that short term.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think you brought up a good point, actually. And that's something that we do again with our clients, is like breaking the goals down into different time periods. So macro, micros. So we kind of aim for a month goal, a 3-month goal, and then a 6-month plus goal. And when we structure that, we do the 6-month goal first. It should be something that potentially is a bit out of your comfort zone, whether that be like a photo shoot, whether that be kind of a body weight that you've never got to if you're trying to grow muscle, sorry. And then you think about the goals along the way. And again, they feed into that 6-month goal or longer. And one thing that I forgot to mention earlier on is you need a review process. Because what we need to think about is a goal that's set and then just parked is pretty pointless. You need to be reviewing your progress against that success criteria or that goal, okay? Because if it suddenly becomes very unrealistic, you need to review it and change it. And likewise, you need to review that, oh, I didn't hit this goal. I didn't hit my 1-month goal. Why? Okay, from your review, you might find that, like, okay, it was a busy work period. So you made the sacrifice, rightly so, that work took priority for a little bit. Right, now that means we've got a down period in work. We can prioritize your training and your nutrition. Let's try and hit that 1-month goal. And it needs to be fluid, I think, which is a tricky one for goals because it needs to be summed up in a sentence. You can't be like, can't just be like this endless kind of goal. It needs to be sharp, but they do need to be fluid and reactive because life does happen. And like I said, if you're setting, if all of your happiness relies on this goal, you see this a lot in kind of careers, like people set like monetary values on their happiness. So like, oh, when I get a promotion and I'm earning this amount, I'll be happy. But your life hasn't changed really when you've hit that monetary value. You just got more money in your bank account. You're still doing the same shit. And it's the same with kind of goals. Like, yeah, just have a think about it and don't kind of fall into the trap of new year, new me. And I mean, it's very hard not to be cynical. And I mean, realistically, you should have goals in place and systems in place already. If there is actually something you want to achieve in 2022, is it 2022? Yeah. Like it should, the process should have been, the process should have started already. Otherwise you're already behind. And that's probably the harsh truth of the matter there, mate. But yeah, I think that's enough talking about goals because like, I do get a bit frustrated by it because sometimes you do just need to do and not think about things because you can get stuck in like paralysis by analysis and spend all of your actual bandwidth and your kind of mental energy thinking about all these lovely goals, but then you've got nothing to kind of do all of the actual non-negotiable things that will move you closer towards that goal and move the needle in your favor. And that's not the purpose of a goal. The purpose of a goal is to align everything you do, not take away from everything you do, which is something like can happen quite a lot actually. Like, and you see it a lot more nowadays. Like people set more goals than they actually kind of, and then they just, that almost gives them a lenience to actually do fuck all. Yeah, I said it. I absolutely said it. I'm on one. I'm absolutely lost my head. Sorry if I offended anyone.
Controversial.
It's probably true though. Like, the thing is with controversial things, they are very often true. I just say it because my filter's gone. Oh well. Views on this pod, 0. Reported to Apple.
Oh, right.
Anyway, so I think we've kind of butchered goals there, mate. So do you want to give us a little update on yourself, how's training and stuff before we go? And then we'll wrap this one up because obviously the last pod was sleep and that was mega. So people are probably still kind of digesting that absolute monstrosity. So how's things with you, buddy?
Yeah, they're good. What did I weigh this morning? So I've just tipped over the 96 kilo mark, which is the heaviest I've been in a very long time.
Woo!
The interesting thing I'm finding though is when I was pushing up weight last year and I was around this weight, definitely composition wasn't as good as it is now.
Good.
Food that I was eating was lower. And then obviously strength and kind of gym progression was lower than it is now. The difference between now versus then is I think in the kind of 4-month period that I was pushing weight up then, I went from probably 91, 92 kilos to just sub 100 in a fairly short, it wasn't a short period of time, but with like a couple of lockdowns, having to isolate a couple of times with COVID, I just think body weight shot up faster than it should have done. So
Yeah.
as with this time, it's been about 3 months so far. Body weight's increased about 4 kilos. Gym progression is shooting up. Food is constantly being increased. And the joke I always make with pushing up weight is you push your weight up as far as you feel physically comfortable with what you see. And so far, body weight hasn't shot up too much. I can see at least that composition is far better than it ever has been.
Yeah, I think,
and it's just quite nice.
We said before we went on air, like, I think this is like the biggest I've seen you since I've known you. And like at 6'2", like quite an imposing character, to be fair. So that's always a good sign. Like, and like you said, like it is a good indicator sometimes when you're in a push-up phase, and if you miss your calories, your weight plummets. And I do think that's a good sign. It's a sign that you're in a good place. Sorry, that you're some of your most important biofeedback is telling you, like, it's almost kind of indicating that it doesn't want to be this heavy. So you are doing something right. Like you probably lost weight when we went to Bath to like meet up and just do Christmas stuff. Oh, festive, cute. It wasn't just me and Rowan. He did have his girlfriend with him. I can say it. He's going to get a mention on the pod. Solo, because that's just the way it is nowadays. And I was literally saying to him the whole time, I was like, mate, you're going to be shredded by the end of this, because obviously steps were super high. And did you actually lose weight from that?
By the third day, I was standing like slightly natural light. I was like, oh wow, a little bit the information's dropped down.
12 weeks out.
I was shredded. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Get the trunks
again. Maybe not yet. A little bit too pale for that.
Yeah, true. You
but as soon as I then came back to Loughborough, I was like, I need to push weight up a little bit more. It's been too stagnant as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So food got bumped up immediately. I'm close to that 400 grams of dry weight rice a day, which I can't wait to hit. And gym progress is just shooting up. So everything's kind of going in a nice direction.
That's good, man. Yeah, I think you're in a good place. And have you got any kind of intention to? I'll do mine now. I was going to ask you something. Have you got any intention for like next year, like in terms of how long you're going to be in this gaining phase? And is there any kind of thoughts of like a diet anytime next year, or is it kind of like, is this a bulk now for like a good another? Well, you've been on a bulk for a while, but like, are you seeing it as a longer term thing?
So because I don't think I'll compete again, or at least if I do, it may not be for a while, I'll reassess the bulk, or at least the push up, in around February time and see if I decide to mini cut then. The reason I may be hesitant to do so if composition is still in check is that so far my weight hasn't shot up enough that I feel like if I cut again, enough progress may have been made.
Yeah.
One of the big caveats though is, so I'm currently in the process of contacting like Premier League rugby teams around the area to see if I can get any nutritionist work experience. If I happen to get some, or in different sports, whatever, that then my own sole focus on pushing up weight may slightly be lower down on my priority. And then it may be a transition to drop a little bit lighter, as I would rather, personally, if I was going to be involved in a sport that required a little bit more cardiovascular fitness, to be in a slightly better position.
You heard it here
give my
first.
all to
Rowan's
that.
going to be a hybrid.
I'm a CrossFitter. That's it.
Back to
Arm
it.
and questions galore.
It's been
Nothing else.
Don't get me started on that. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because like that's what you want to go into. Personally, I think you should do the Project Sparks photo shoot next year. So I'm taking a few clients that we're going to. Obviously, you are a coach, you're not a client, but you can get preps nonetheless. Where we'll coach a few of our clients to a photo shoot, and they'll do it all together. So I'm just saying, mate, if you want to get lean and get a photo shoot out of it. I think it'd be worth it. Personally, I wouldn't be joining you because I'm still absolutely ruined from prep. But in terms of how I am
shredded from
training, interestingly, I'm like 95.5 kilograms. So I'm about my own body weight. Not fat at all. Health's getting better. Like my digestive issues had a bit of a flare up this week. I know why though, because I bought a new whey isolate, which is a bit of a pain in the ass because I bought like 2.5 kilograms of it. So I'm going to kind of try and drip feed it in to see if I can develop a tolerance to it, because otherwise it's like 90 quid gone. But nonetheless, mate, onwards and upwards. Training wise, going very well. Coming off, I had like a deload like 2-3 weeks ago, and I am starting to see a little bit of niggles already in my elbows. And like I said on the kind of lagging body part section podcast, I think that is because I am pushing volume through, like really consciously trying to drive volume up through my chest, back, and arms. So therefore, potentially, I am above my kind of maximum recoverable volume. So I might think about what first thing I'm going to do is like address my prehab procedures. I'm not going to change anything to training volume just yet. I'm going to see if, right, are all of my other metrics in place? Am I doing my prehab? Am I looking after my rotator cuffs? Am I on top of my mobility? If I do those things and I'm still getting the niggles, I'll reduce volume. But from the success of the last kind of training block where I think I responded to the higher volume really well. Like if anyone follows me on socials, like you saw my physique updates, like I think from the front I've blown up a bit, which is a good thing, obviously. So I would enjoy, or I'd have a preference to run that kind of linear progression in volume across the training block again. But again, I don't want to get injured because these niggles have kind of held me back in the past when I was younger. But I think like I said, I've got much more of that athlete mindset now. So I will take care of the kind of prehab. I will take care of my nutrition and my recovery more than I did back in the day. So yeah, training's in a good place. From a nutritional standpoint, very much rigid still in terms of what I eat. But I think that's a decision that I make just because of my digestive issues and the structure I want in my life right now. Somewhere around 3,000 tracked, but I'm not tracking any vegetables, and I'm not tracking kind of like milk or almond milk in coffees and teas and stuff. So I'm probably looking at more around like 3,200 on average, which is, I don't think it's a bad place to be in. Like my performance is going up, my scale weight is creeping up. I am going to be kind of using Christmas as a way to kind of just get that scale weight up a little bit, but I don't want to necessarily shoot back to peak off-season weight without matching my performance along that, because before prep, I was like 116 kilograms. Like it's heavy, man. And I don't want to just shoot up there. Like I would rather eke it out. So maybe middle of next year, I'm looking at like 106 kilograms, but like that 106 kilograms is like decent. Because I do think there's a lot of potential for me to actually, like, now I'm fully optimizing everything. I don't think I've tapped my genetic potential at all. So I think it's really time for me to kind of like show what I'm made of in that sense, and kind of push my physique and my development of my physique and my performance to kind of new levels. And I'm pretty motivated to fucking do it, to be fair. So yeah, right, man. So that's enough from us. I don't know when this is going out, but if this is before Christmas and New Year, I hope you have a good Christmas and New Year to the listeners first and to Rowan. Thanks for coming on, mate, as per usual. If you've got this far in the pod, wherever you are, try and give us a review or a like or a comment, or if we're on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review would be appreciated. If you do want more information on working with Project Sparks, and the coaches at Project Sparks, head to our website or just follow us on social media. All of our links will be in the descriptions below. But other than that, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, guys. Peace.
In a bit. I've lost my mouse.